Presiding Officer, let me start by thanking Lewis MacDonald for the opportunity to discuss this really very substantial report, 82 pages, contributions from I think they're probably essays from 17 different contributors, and a rough count suggests over 200 references which lead you to further reading. So it isn't just what's in front of us, but what underpins it that helps us have a proper discussion about whether we're on target to meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Looking first, perhaps, at homelessness. We all see in our walk to Parliament and elsewhere the visible evidence of homelessness, and I'm sure many of us will have talked to people we see in the streets. Every 18 minutes, someone in Scotland becomes homeless. That's about the time it takes on a bus down to Parliament from the centre of town. We have a target, of course, under the Scottish Government's under the Sustainable Development Goals to get to zero poverty by 2030. That includes zero hunger, it includes getting good health and well-being. First Minister has adopted that in 2015 to reduce inequality across the globe, but inequality continues to exist in Scotland as it does in elsewhere. There are people, as Lewis MacDonald referred to, who are food insecure. 25% of our children live in poverty, and figures might suggest that that will rise if we don't see some amelioration and response to the position of financial constraints and austerity by Westminster. Too many people are relying on food banks, and nutritious food is yet to be accessible and affordable for all. It's one of the things my wife in particular always thinks about at Christmas. It's actually at the top of her shopping list. What's she going to go and buy to take to the food bank? I hope others do the same, but it is disappointing that we have to do so. Now that leads us to the broader question of socioeconomic disadvantage and marginalisation. That exists in the wealthy northeast of Scotland, as it does in other parts of our country. That inequality relates to discrimination against women and girls, too much unhealthy eating. So are we on target to meet our goals? Yes, we're making progress on a number of targets, in particular water and sanitation, energy share for renewables, forest management, because this is an all-encompassing agenda. Eradication of poverty, steps towards phasing out food banks, have been made along with the creation of the Scottish Welfare Fund, which provides cash grants. That is an assistance to those in need. There are tools that we can use. The report from the joint work by the University of Western Scotland and the Oxfam Partnership and the SDG Scotland Network shows that there's progress. We're some distance away from 2030, but the reality is, and I think as one gets older and time seems to speed up, 2030 is almost tomorrow in planning terms and in policy terms. So I'm pleased to see businesses, individuals, civil society standing beside this effort. We're making progress on perhaps only a minority of the indicators in the national framework that relate to this, but progress we are making. We need a coherent approach to this. I think the proposal that I heard Lewis MacDonald just make about aligning Parliament's activities more closely with this is not one I'd heard made before, but I think is a very interesting one. Let me just close by congratulating all who've been involved in this report and hoping we hear some interesting things from the Minister.